Welcome back everyone. For those of you who don't know, my background is a butcher, so in this video I thought it would be fitting to cook a butcher's steak. So the butcher's steak, or more commonly known as the hanger steak or hanging tenderloin, comes from the upper belly of the animal. It's a really beautiful piece of meat. It's got some really nice flavors, super tender, and it's pretty easy to cook, which I'll show you shortly. So for now, we're going to get our barbecue set up, and then we'll get stuck into having a closer look at the steak and get into trimming it. So we'll start by getting some briquettes on. If you've got charcoal, you can use that too. We're going to be cooking this direct heat, hot and fast today. So we'll get our firelighter lit up and our charcoal chimney on. So we've got about 10 minutes before our briquettes will be ready. We're going to wait until they're nice, red hot and ashed over. So for now, we'll get this steak opened up, we'll have a closer look and give it a trim. So this is a beautiful Black Onyx brand hanger steak from Austral Meats. We've picked this up from. It's not very easily sourced, but if you have a chat with your butcher, they might be able to get you one in. So we're just going to trim any excess fat off. And we've just got a bit of silver skin here to remove from the top side of it. That's about as far as we'll go. Right, so we're all trimmed up, and I like to always trim once I start getting my briquettes on because that gives the steak 10-15 minutes to come up to room temperature. You always want to try and get your steak up to room temperature before you cook it because it will ensure a much more even cook. So now we're all trimmed up, we're going to get this seasoned up. We're going to be using our steak shooter steak and beef rub. So we're just going to give a nice even coverage to both sides. So one more thing before we get this steak on. Obviously we've got this membrane through the middle. That's going to be quite tough and gristly, and because we're cooking it hot and fast, it's not going to completely cook down. Some people will cut either side of that membrane and separate the hanger into two separate steaks. We're going to keep it whole today, and we're just going to take note of that for when we're slicing it and eating it later. And it's obviously something we're going to avoid. So our briquettes are just about ready, so we'll be getting this steak on very soon. All right, our briquettes are pretty much ready. Let's get them in. So we're just going to spread these out nice and even. So I've left our cooking grates off. We're going to put them on cold and then get the steak straight on because I want our briquettes or charcoal, if you're using that, to be doing the cooking. So we're going to be cooking this hot and fast, flipping every 30 seconds until we reach an internal of around 130 degrees Fahrenheit or 54 degrees Celsius. And I'm also going to give our cooking grates a nice spray with some rice bran oil because we don't want our steak to stick. We're going to move it around so we don't get any dark grill marks. I want a nice even sear across that whole steak. So let's get this thing on. All right, so it's been about 15 minutes and we're pretty much bang on our internal target temperature. So we'll get this thing off. Right, so that steak looks and smells amazing. Now we're going to take it inside and let it rest for about 10 to 15 minutes at room temperature. So while our steak's resting, we're going to make a quick chimichurri. We've got a chimichurri rub from BRZ Foods. This is just as good, if not better, than making a fresh chimichurri at home. And I'll show you how easy it is to put together. So the product is called Gringo. Really good people behind it. They've also just released a YouTube channel, which I'll put a link down in the description if you want to check them out. They do some really amazing cooks. So we're just going to get 2 tablespoons of the rub. And then we're going to add 50 mils of olive oil. And then half a tablespoon of white vinegar. And if you want, you can add some salt to taste. Other than that, you just need to stir it around and mix it all together. Now we can just wait for our steak to finish resting and we'll get it all together. Right, so our steak's now had a good rest. Time to slice it up. Right, so I'm not sure if you can pick it up on the camera, but we've got the grain running sort of that way on this piece and then this way on the other side. So we're going to do what I spoke about before, and we're just going to separate the two sort of halves. and take that bit of gristle out. Like I said, you can do that during the trimming process, but I think it just makes the cook a little bit uneven, as sometimes one half will be thinner than the other. Don't waste that, that's still really good meat there. So we're just going to slice this across the grain, going that way. And look at that. So tender. And same again with the other piece, take note of which way the grain is running, and you always want to slice against it. And again, you can just see how beautiful and tender that is. Let's have a good taste. All right, time for a taste. Have a bit without the chimichurri first. That is such a good flavour. So tender. That is such a good steak. We'll try a bit with some of the chimichurri. That makes it so quick and easy. You can make it in under 30 seconds. And it's probably just as cheap as buying all the ingredients, and you can make heaps of batches out of it too. So good. Try a piece from the other half. Such a good texture and flavour out of the hanger steak. If you can source some, you've definitely got to try it. That is a really enjoyable steak. Guaranteed if you're a steak lover, you will love that. So I'm going to go eat the rest of that off camera. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.